The Tequila Worm by Viola Canales. Chapter 10. The Drive-In. It had been years since I'd been to the Border Drive-In Theater. According to Mama and Berta, I'd been so focused on my books that I had missed some of the best movies ever. Lucy was sitting between Berta and me in the back seat of our old white Ford, while Noe sat between Papa and Mama in front. As the car passed the marquee, I tapped Berta on the shoulder and pointed. We laughed, for most of the black letters spelling Pedro Infante were either falling off or missing completely. After Papa parked on top of one of the rows and rows of asphalt mounds, it was just like always. Mama leaned over and moved St. Christopher and the Virgin from the center to the right side of the dashboard. She opened the glove compartment, pulled out a snake-like green coil, set it on top of the dashboard, and lit it. This was incense for killing the flying bugs and mosquitoes. The coil burned with a strange glow that got redder and redder as the evening got darker. "Mama," said Lucy, "can you please take St. Christopher and the Virgin off the dashboard? They're blocking my view." "Hi, Lucy, it's always the same thing with you. The movie hasn't even started. And anyway, I'm not taking them off. They're there to sanctify our car and protect us against accidents." "Mama, the car is parked. It's not moving," Lucy said. Berta and I grinned at each other. "Well, you never know. Something could always happen. Look, I'll move them all the way to the right." Mama carefully set them on the corner of the dashboard. "Aren't you going to turn them around so they can watch the movie?" I winked at Berta. Mama turned her two santos to face the huge white screen as she always did, and we laughed. I leaned over to Berta and whispered, "I can't wait for the kissing, the tequila drinking, and the shooting to begin. Wonder what Mama Santos will think then." But Berta didn't laugh. Then Lucy and Noe fought over who got to take the metal speaker that hung on a pole outside and attach it to their window. Berta and I looked at each other. Once we had been the ones fighting over this. Mama grabbed the speaker, hung it over the top of her window, and turned the knobs. A man's voice burst forth. "Fresh popcorn, cold Cokes, hot dogs, chocolate bars, and pepperoni pizzas are waiting for you at the concession stand." I used to love going to the concession stand, for there were 4 magic horses next to it. The horses flew on swings back and forth, making me feel as though I were flying through the stars. "Let's go ride the horses, Sophia," said Lucy. "Yeah," said Noe. "Okay, let's take them," I said. Berta rolled her eyes and opened her door. Berta and I tried to keep up with Lucy and Noe. They were leaping and laughing way ahead of us. "Hey, Berta, what's wrong?" I said. "Nothing. Why? You seem so quiet." "No, it's just that I'm here to see the movie. This kid stuff bores me." "You want to see the movie? Boy, I feel I've missed a lot." "Yes, you have. Like what?" Oh, what?" She was silent. As I watched Lucy and Noe fly away on their magic horses, I noticed that Berta looked older, pretty, and somehow her teeth didn't even look big anymore. They went perfectly with her face now. Her curly light brown hair was neatly tied back with a red ribbon, and she had on a bright blue dress with glass buttons in front. She was even wearing makeup. When did all this happen? I looked down at my torn jeans, my white t-shirt, my old white sneakers. My hair still looked like Apache hair, as Papa liked to call it, long, dark, and wild. Then a loud horn blew. Berta told Noe and Lucy to get off the horses now, that she didn't want to miss the movie. Back to the car. Papa and Mama stayed in the front seat while the 4 of us took the Mexican blanket from the trunk and spread it on the asphalt mound next to the car. Just as I thought, it was another one of those singing charro movies Mama loved. But this was our green light to start gobbling whatever we'd brought along with us. Sometimes it was a bucket full of corn on the cob, or maguacatas, the boiled pods from our ebony tree, or mesquite beans, or bean tacos, or pan dulce. But this time we felt really, really lucky, for Papa had stopped at Whataburgers and bought hamburgers and Cokes. After we had finished eating and then made spiral toys from the paper cups, I looked up at the screen and saw that the charro was singing another boring song. I rolled my eyes, but Berta was watching with a dreamy expression. I couldn't believe it. We hated these movies. I'm going to the car. You all are making way too much noise, Berta said. I laughed but carefully watched as she got into the back seat. Berta was glued to the movie, just like Mama. Papa smiled and waved at me. He leaned his head against the car door and closed his eyes. I wondered if taking Mama to the movies was another example of his learning to dance. I joined Lucy and Noe in our usual game of gazing up at the stars and calling out what shapes and animals we could make by connecting them. We also looked for falling stars, sure signs of good luck. When the charro and the señorita finally kissed, Lucy, Noe, and I made our usual loud lip-smacking sounds. But Berta was as captivated as Mama. Papa was asleep, and when I coaxed Lucy to go over and ask Mama how St. Christopher and the Virgin were enjoying this part of the movie, Mama said, "Be quiet." Berta said, "Shh," not taking her eyes off the screen. Lucy jumped up. "Restroom time." I opened Berta's door and whispered, "Berta, come with us." Berta sighed. "You all act like a bunch of babies." We passed car after car and people on aluminum chairs, milk crates, or blankets. I also saw 2 sofas and even a church pew. Some young couples were kissing as the charro song and the señorita's sighs floated over everything. I looked at the mile-long rays of light shooting from the top of the concession stand, magically painting the movie onto the screen. Remember, Berta, how we wish we were 20 feet tall so we could project shadow puppets onto that enormous screen, especially during the kissing? Berta just looked at me and frowned, making us walk faster and faster, constantly turning around to watch the screen. "You're all acting silly and ruining the movie for me," she said. Noah and Lucy made even louder kissing noises. I studied Berta as we walked, thinking about what Mama had said while Papa and I were cleaning beans, that I should start being more like Berta. Berta turned and bared her now perfect teeth at me. "Sophia, what are you looking at?" Once there, Lucy and Noe pretended to use the restroom and then begged to ride the flying horses again. I smiled, knowing they had learned this trick from me. But Berta said no. We headed back. Berta jumped into the car while the 3 of us went back to watching stars. I leaned back on the blanket, folded my hands under my head, and stared up at the darkness. I glanced at the screen. Now the charro and the señorita were married with children. But instead of the movie, I saw Mr. Weld's slides of St. Luke's projected onto the screen. Who are those rich people anyway? I turned to the stars and now saw them as faraway worlds. Yes, that's what I wanted. I didn't want to stay a kid. But I didn't want to enter Mama and Berta's grown-up world either. At least not so fast. And if it was only about getting married and having children like in the movies, no. I wanted to explore. I spotted a falling star. I kept it a secret. It was good luck. Yes. But what if it's a sign of crashing and burning? As we dropped Berta and Noe off at their front porch, I remembered what Tia Petra told us on her porch. When I got home, I called Berta. "Sorry we ruined the movie for you." Silence. "Listen," I continued, "is there something I don't know? I mean, remember what Tia Petra told us about being comadres and all? Sophia, it's late." "I know it's late, but..." "Well, I have a boyfriend." "A boyfriend? Wow, who is it?" Silence. "Why is it such a big secret?" Silence. "Jaime." "Jaime the track star?" "Yes." "Have you kissed him?" "Sophia!" "I'm just kidding, Berta. I'm not as immature as you think. I'm worse. No, I'm really happy for you. And again, sorry for ruining the movie. Now I understand. And Berta, one more thing. How do you want me to support this new dream of yours?" "Actually, I'm glad you asked because I was going to come over to tell you tomorrow. Now, good night." "Good night." As I drifted off to sleep, I realized that staying happy did get tricky, just as Tia Petra had said, and I hadn't even left home.